As actor and activist Terry Crews facing backlash for tweeting, "We must ensure Black Lives Matter doesn't morph into Black Lives Better." Here's how he explained it. Are all white people bad? No. Are all black people good? No. Knowing this reality, I stand on my decision to unite with good people, no matter the race, creed, or ideology. Given the number of threats against this decision, I also decide to die on this hill.
Tupac. Damn, you was a thug. Oh my goodness, why are you so gangster? I will always think of Terry Crews as Damon. I think that's how I first learned about him. And honestly, it's one of the funniest movies ever. But either ways, yeah, I've been rather quiet on the whole Terry Crews thing, and it's primarily because it's the same thing I've been saying on this channel for forever, right? It's one of the drawbacks of, doing this channel every day and talking every day is that I don't want to get repetitive and redundant. And when it comes to my quote unquote all lives matter stance or life matters stance, I don't want to sit here and just keep espousing upon it. So Terry Crews came out with much of the same call, and he's being ostracized. Well, I don't want to say ostracized because the man's still working, but yeah, like a lot of people are really butthurt about what he had to say, and you know what? Screw him. If you think that skin color goes above being a decent human being, then real talk, I personally have no use for you.
Terry Crews joins me now. Terry, man, you stepped in it. You say that you're willing. You say you're willing to die on this hill. You've taken a lot of heat for this. Explain what you were thinking and why it's so important that you die on this hill.
Well, again, I wanted to bring up the fact that there are some very, very militant type forces in Black Lives Matter, and what I was issuing was a warning. It's one of those things where I've been a part of different groups, I've been a part of different things, and you see how extremes can go far and can go wild. And then when you issue a warning, and when a warning is seen as detrimental to the movement, how can you ever have checks and balances?
So the word you're looking for, Terry, is zealotry. Yeah, if you believe in anything to the extremists of the extreme, you become a zealot. And zealots are the ones who, run into a diner with a bomb strapped to their chest, okay? That's what zealotry takes you to. Zealots are the ones who organize the Salem witch trials. Zealots are the ones who were so just locked in on their belief of owning people that, let's go to war about it with the Civil War, right? So zealotry, any belief, any ideology, and I've talked about this on the channel endlessly, any ideology, pardon me, can go too far. Any of them. And as far as, militant wings of Black Lives Matter, man, there are some of the most militant people like ever. I've covered like Samuel L. Jackson on the video that I did yesterday.
In the 60s and 70s, airplanes went down all the time. And the reason they found out why they did was because the pilots could never be questioned. And when you have the leaders of the Black Lives Movement who are now talking about, if we don't get our demands, we're going to burn it down. Other black people who are talking about working with other whites and other races that being viewed as sellouts or called Uncle Toms. You start to understand that you are now, being controlled. You're not being treated as loved. You're actually being controlled.
He is 100% correct, and his teeth are mega white. And look at Don Lemon's face. Oh my goodness. Like, you can really see those 50 years in this still right here. But he's 100% correct. I mean, when it comes to the quote unquote progressive ideology, it is a cult. Those people at the DSA, the Democratic Socialist, and the Marxist and everything else like that ideology, it is cult-like. And if you are a black person that does not agree with everything that all parts of their ideology, they will, like, we've seen it. We've seen them sit there and call people, Nord and all these other slurs because they are either cops or they're or they just simply disagree.
Someone wants to control the narrative. And I viewed it as a very, very dangerous self-righteousness that was developing that, that really viewed themselves as better. It was almost a supremacist move.
Let me jump in.
That's the thing. Before Don Lemon jumps in, Terry Crews, you are hitting the nail on the head. All right, it is about supremacy. Like the thing about a lot of these racist black people is that they don't realize that they're racist at all. They don't consider themselves to be able to be racist because of years of media pumping into their brain that, like, oh, you's a victim. And let's not forget the overabundance of fatherlessness and mothers projecting and passing on that victim type mindset to so many of their youth. And then we have grievance studies and all these other issues that have permeated throughout our college and educational system. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of BS, woe is me jambalaya going on right now, and shout out to Terry Crews for calling it out.
They view that their Black lives mattered a lot more than mine.
Okay, so let me jump in here. There's a lot that you said. You think if Black Lives Matter is, you said you think it's an extreme movement? Because it's now part of the...
No, but this is the thing. It's a great mantra. It's a true mantra. Black Lives...
It's a slogan, okay? And it hasn't mattered to Black Lives Matter since Ferguson. Once again, 6 black guys pop up dead after Ferguson. None of those Black Lives Matter. Rest in peace, Darren Seal. No. This has been infiltrated and taken over since the last time it was a big thing in the news.
Do matter. But when you're talking about an organization, you're talking about the leaders. You're talking about the people who are responsible for putting these things together.
I got you. So let me... But
different thing.
Terry, you realize...
Okay, Don Lemon, why are you sitting here cutting the man off while he talking? Like, seriously, and isn't your husband Caucasian?
Even during the civil rights movement, that Dr. King was seen as extreme. That movement was seen as extreme to people who don't want to make...
Okay, can we stop with the apples and oranges comparisons? 2020 and 1963 are not the same at all. Like, can we cut it out? Mr. I have a Caucasian husband. You are living in a completely different world than that of Dr. King. Like, these people are so disingenuous, and they really use the history. That's my biggest problem with all of this, is that they use this history as a means to pretend to LARP as somebody's victim. Man, miss me.
Change. Movements are seen as extreme. You can paint them easily as an extreme when they are not.
This is very true, but also, when you're talking about MLK, you're talking about Nelson Mandela, and even Malcolm X, they all realized that you had to have a non-racial component to these kind of movements, or there will be resentment. There will be
freaking church, Terry Crews, church.
There will be, one of these people will tend to, listen, I don't want to move from one oppressor to the next. And one thing is really
who's the next oppressor? Who's the next oppressor?
Oh, when I describe this, when you look in the city of Chicago, there are 9 children who died by gun violence, by black on black gun violence, from June 20th all the way to today. And you're talking about, even with the Atlanta child murders, there were 28 kids who died in 2 years. You're talking about a month, and you have 9 black kids. And
honestly, sounds like the 90s to me. I mean, it's just the same thing going. It's a cycle. These things happen literally in these spaces, in these areas, all the time. Like they've been happening since the 80s, since the drug war really took off. And as far as who he was talking about Black Lives Matter being the other oppressor, Don Lemon.
Black Lives Matter movement has said nothing about this.
What does that have to do with equality, though, Terry? I have to tell. I don't.
What I'll tell you guys. Equality is a false god that they have all just glommed onto. It's a false god. Equality does not exist. Cut it out.
Understand what that has to do with equality, because listen, there's crime. There are people in those communities those people aren't just being nonchalant about gun violence. I lived in Chicago. There are many people who are working in those communities to try to get rid of the gun violence.
Yet persist, Don Lemon. I wonder why. Could it be because of the state-induced incentive of the poverty rates being as high as they are, or the need for the prison farming system? So they need the for the government and welfare programs to replace the father. Would that have anything to do with it, Don Lemon? Of course, neither Don Lemon or Black Lives Matter is going to talk about that, and that's why you're subbed.
The gun culture in this country is prevalent, but I don't understand what that has to do with a movement that's for equality for black people.
How much money do you make, Don Lemon? Don't you make like a million, like a few $1,000,000 a year, and you want to sit here and cry about equality? Aren't you married to a Caucasian husband? Aren't you by all technical means living your American dream, as is Terry Crews? So seriously, who are you to sit here and complain about quote unquote equality? You frickin' token.
It's not mutually exclusive that if you care about equality for black people, that somehow you're going to stop random violence or, unfortunately, kids from being shot. It just seems like apples and oranges.
It's not that way. This is the thing, Don. Black people need to hold other black people accountable. I said this the same thing. This is the Black America's version of the Me Too movement. If anything is going to change, we...
Okay, Jesus Christ, Terry Crews, you be having me and then you lose me by once again this is America's version of the Me Too movement. Like, honestly, take care of yourself. Alright, black, white, green, blue, purple, take care of yourself. If everybody takes care of themselves and holds themselves accountable, then you know what? Guess what? Guess a lot of problems get solved. I promise.
Ourselves need to look at our own communities and look at each other and say, this thing cannot go down. And this is the thing, too. There are a lot of great, great people there who are held hostage, by people who literally are running these neighborhoods with violence and then claiming...
So they're elected officials, huh? Like seriously, Terry Crews, you're really losing me in your argument because these people are held hostage there. A lot of people within urban spaces, when I would have you, it's intergenerational welfare and basically just feeling like they rule the roost. But many of them come from the elected tree, of the elected spring well of black politicians that have run these communities into the ground. So yeah, Terry, come on, guy.
That Black Lives Matter. When you look at the parents of these little kids who are saying, "Hey, man, why aren't they speaking up for me too?" And this is what I'm saying. When I look at this whole thing about, it's about who is controlling the narrative. It's got to be all Black Lives Matter. And what's happening?
Well, you basically talking to the people controlling the narrative, Terry. You on camera with them right now, CNN and the New York Times and all of these other outlets that sit there and use this country's history as a battering ram against it because they got some vendetta against Trump. That's who you're talking to them, bro. Like, I mean, let it be known.
Is that because I even challenged it, because I even questioned and warned people,
Terry,
I became sick. Like, if I told you to wear a mask,
Terry,
they want to kick you out.
You're a high-profile person. You're writing things out there. You know you're going to get backlash. You know people are going to respond to what you're saying on Twitter. So I don't think you should be surprised by that. I have a skin as tough as an armadillo because of...
Boy, you solved this baby shit.
What I do, and I think maybe you should adapt that. But here's what I have to say. The Black Lives Matter movement was started because it was talking about police brutality. If you want an all Black Lives Matter movement that talks about gun violence in communities, including, black communities, then start that movement with that name. But that's not what Black Lives Matter is about. It's not an all-encompassing
No, it's about communism. It's about socialism. It's about Marxism. It's about destroying the family. This is their words. Destroying the family and breaking down the patriarchy and intersectionality and alphabetical people. Literally, it's about everything except for Black life. Straight up and down. So guys, with that being said, we're going to bring this one to an end. All the internet stuff. If you like this, also like this, go ahead, do that too. Nobody's scared of you. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice. You want to get videos like this every single day. Share because sharing is caring. And YouTube and Bitchute and like aren't the biggest fans of your boy over here for very obvious reasons. Bang the bell for notifications and speak. Let me know. What do you guys think in the comments? I mean, it's like Terry, you were literally in front. You were on the belly of the beast talking to the same people who need to hype it oh so much. Don Lemon, he's acting like a prissy little bitch, but as Don Lemon, that's how he operates. But you may feel differently, and that's what I have a comment section for. Until the next one.